Mr. President, that is my question.
Distinguished Senator Lalong.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Once again, Simon Lalong, representing Plateau South, and also Plateau State, where you are coming from. Chairman, Committee on INEC and Electoral Matters. Prof, I won't call it intimidating resume, but exemplary resume, because you were one time, you were my dean, you supervised my dissertation, you were a great Joseph. No, it's not disqualified, I was a student, ordinary student.
Senator, distinguished Senator Lalong, I didn't hear you well.
Sir, I said in the course of my studies, I also went through him. When I was reading master's degree, but I didn't go to University of Jos. I went to ABU and came back, did masters. I met him briefly, I saw him briefly there as a dean. He was the dean. Huh? He was the dean. So he didn't supervise me directly. He was the dean.
Senator Lalong. Please do not bias the minds of members. No. Why I'm saying this is, if you went through him,
yes,
or you went under him, however you did, all we want to know, from what you are saying, you want to attest to his character.
Yes, sir.
So just say, I attest to his character, then you sit down so that others can ask questions.
Thank you. Yes, Prof. There's a very important thing. As a professor of evidence, one of the thorny issues that came up in the last election was the issue of beavers and IRF platform, which were game changers. But we also saw operational challenges in the last elections. Given your understanding of the terrain, how do you intend to ensure these technologies function optimally going forward? That's my question, Mr. President.
Prof, can they take more questions, or do you want to answer those two? Yeah?
I leave it to your discretion, sir.
You take more questions? Because I noticed that almost the entire Senate is eager to ask you questions. And they all represent senatorial districts and constituencies. And the questions they are asking you are the concerns of Nigerians, of their constituents. Because of the fact that they were participants in the various elections. So they are very familiar. And all they want to know is whether things will change. So he's saying that the beavers and the IRF were meant to be game changers. But instead, in some instances, they presented difficulties and problems that could not be solved by the ordinary people. So if you become the national chairman of INEC, what do you hope to do? But that is very technical. I think you should get into the office, study it, study the flaws, and from there you will know what to do. But if he has an answer, okay, based on the fact that you have been working with us from the House of Representatives, so you have an idea. So proceed to answer.
And also a professor of evidence.
Distinguished senators, the purpose of introducing NASS and INEC was to ensure the integrity of the election. That is the purpose of technology. I believe what happened in 20 was a glitch. before we went into my own and the view of the decisions of the court, found that there was no clarity, purpose, of IREF. Not until the Supreme Court came out to say that IREF was not that electoral commission system. That's not valuable. INEC was supposed that Paris was the loss made by the Senate. Not the way with my mouth. However, INEC was supposed to fight checks and balances. But when this one has nobody, that's everything. So, I have to let it I'm giving the opportunity. See, what is actually wrong? Whether we have what it takes now, because it is not just INEC, have other agencies. The service have to work together. Whether it's technology that everybody will. I want to believe that that's that. What is the logistic election itself? So that fast track. Don't know the problem. So find a fast track. Problems head on. Like one example, logistic problem. Buy on. One of the very things when you see them, they are old. And when they don't go when they go they don't go back. So they abandon voting. But vision is of the transport. Now to the higher machine and so we need to take it. And then has to go.
So, Prof, you are saying that when they drop the materials at the various units, they hardly come back to pick the results. So some of our results must have been forgotten.
The results are not forgotten, sir. But you find that enough that as soon as the election is over, so long, you have to even make their own electoral process they get there very late. And so sometimes get there was planning was the population officer. Actually, logistics. Right, logistics. Transport.
Senator Yari. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues. Prof, congratulations for this tax that coming out of you. More especially where we're heading to the next one and Habia. My question is on the budget utilization and maybe to explain to the Senate how transparently we will be, more especially during the upcoming major election. The budget of INEC, if you look at it, election after election, it's not going like inflation. Maybe the inflation of this year may be 18%. It will grow by next maybe with 1.0% or 0.5%. But the INEC budget is growing by like double. So how do you intend to transparently, judiciously utilize, apply the funds we're going to approve to you for the major election? Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Goje.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Njimo Goje, presenting Gombe Central, Gombe State. Mr. Nominee, I also join my colleagues in congratulating you and wish you sounding success in this very difficult job. There are these recurring accusations against the role of the security agencies during elections, even though we know that we can't do elections without them. The security agencies are the necessary partners with the success and progress of elections, but there's this widespread belief that they collude in trying to make things difficult, particularly for some people, that some parties or people that they don't like, to the extent of making people to see the elections as not really transparent. They intimidate and collude in altering results or pushing away people from elections. Some people, in some polling stations, you find that, especially during collation centers, you find that they cordon off the place, they allow those they want to allow in, they prevent those they don't want to be inside the collation centers. As the chairman of INEC, how do you now handle this issue of security agencies so as to ensure the integrity of the elections, that all parties will be satisfied with the performance of INEC? Thank you.
Senator, former Speaker, former Governor, Tamboa.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, and the nominee, I am Amin Waziri Tamboa. I represent Sokoto South Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee, I wish you well, and I reserve the congratulations until you serve your tenure, and I hope and pray that you'll be able to successfully carry out your duty, and at that point, I'll come home and congratulate you. Having gone through your resume and knowing you personally, I want to know your views on areas that you think require amendment in the Electoral Act as it is today, that will improve on the outcomes of elections and the integrity of elections in Nigeria. I believe that you have worked on the Electoral Act before and you have the experience. You should be able to highlight these areas so that may guide eventually what we are going to do here in the amendment of the Electoral Act. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Ningi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Central, Bauchi State. Let me join the Senate President in welcoming you, Professor George. Let me begin by saying you were born in 1967. That makes you a middle-aged person. That tells you that your golden years is still ahead of you. This position that you've been nominated for, you have now become the attention of Nigeria and the international community. And looking at your resume, in particular on page 11, academic professional awards, you mentioned Richard Akinjide for Best Overall Student of 1987, late Carly Brown Peterside, prize for the Best Overall Law Student, University of Jos, prize for the Best Overall Student, Fulbright Scholarship, visiting researcher at the University of Iowa, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and Dr. Teslim Award of Meritorious Service. The agency that you are about to take over is not a stranger to professors. Professor Henry Wosu, Professor Jega, and Professor Yakubu, Professor Iwu, and so on and so forth. What that tells you and tells Nigeria, the issue is not about academic excellence. It has to do with someone's upbringing, his forthrightness, his fairness, and his patriotism, and of course, the love of this country. As a member of Electoral Committee, courtesy of the Senate, we have traversed this country. And one of the highlights of our public interaction is the demand for transmissions of results real time. And that encapsulates a lot of logistics, but more particularly about the mindset of the leader of that agency. What do you understand by transmission of results real times? And do you think, just like most Nigerians think, that this is tenable, this is achievable? What is your position about transmission of that real times? Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Ojo Zakalo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Oji Uzokalo. I represent Abia North of Abia State Senatorial District. Mr. President, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Nominee, thank you for coming, and my question will be very brief to you because your resume have shown. When I got this resume, I thought I was going to go back to school. I asked the person, is there a CV? He said yes. The young lady that brought it, I said, for you? He said yes. And I was surprised. But knowing you as a professor, Let me go straight to the question. One persistent challenge that have been of late is the deployment of materials and personnel. Knowing the vastness of our nation and the complexity of the country, tell us, what strategy will you bring to manage the complexity of the country, especially on the areas that have bad terrains and security challenges? These areas are areas that you must not allow any Nigeria to be disenfranchised because they have security challenge, or because people will tell you, oh, that place is hilly, that place is far. What is your strategy? Is threatening to give free, fair, and just election that will be acceptable by all Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Ositango.
Thank you, Mr. President and my colleagues. My name is Ositango Ugu. I represent Enugu West. Prof, I'll congratulate you, but I'm sure you have had enough accolades. So I'll go straight to the question. No matter how beautiful our electoral policies and procedures are, the integrity of the people who carry out this election matters. Now I'm going to talk about the integrity of the people who either are INEC staff or ad hoc staff, who are going to be the people who conduct these elections. Prof, how are you going to set up an internal mechanism that is going to deter the people conducting elections from compromising? How are you going to prevent it? And what mechanism are you going to put in place to detect when such compromises occur? And finally, how are you going to ensure that there is adequate punishment, maybe working with the National Assembly, to prosecute those who are entrusted with the responsibility to conduct the election, but who goes back to compromise the election? Thank you very much.
Very good question. I wish he came last so that we can reassure all Nigerians. But it's a very good question. Very, very good question. Because Prof can only administer, but the real nitty-gritty is with those who are vested with the responsibility of going to the nooks and crannies of the nation. What they do and bring back can either mar his administration or promote his administration. So, Prof, it's at that stage, I think you should answer together with the other questions so far asked.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Senate President, the Senators. May I respond by taking the last question first? I think that is a major concern. Major concern. One of the things that we have to do to work out a mechanism that we can use prayer of humans. First place, taking this and the people who are going to work also appreciate the fact that Nigeria is first. Because we have made the law that should be done. So one of ways that committee that I have an audit what has happened, because there have been several cases that have been reported and not yet. Some have been taken to courts, like Bayelsa State. There were some cases like that. And where some were convicted. So I'm going to follow through what should that cause. Also,